You're watching UA in English, and my name is Anna Nichenko. We're broadcasting from Ukraine. We're telling truth about real situation here in our country. And the description of this situation gave my colleague, it's Michael Kaufman. He's director of the Russian Studies program. And let's just watch his description and his explanation of real situation, of real Russian occupation of Ukraine.
Now, well, I think from our point of view, the planning assumptions might have been very puzzling, but it's very clear that intellectually, I think the Kremlin had not moved on anywhere since 2014. They essentially were trying to do a much larger version of what had happened in 2014. And there are two other aspects to this operation. The first is they clearly misled the troops. They did not tell the troops they were sending them to war until the very last minute. They told them we're going on exercises. They pushed them to the border, told them not to worry, and then said that they are going to Ukraine, but that this was actually a special operation and that they shouldn't encounter much resistance. And this is why in the initial 48 hours, if you saw the way Russian forces were operating, you too might have been very puzzled, because Russian troops essentially drove into Ukraine as though they were still in their own country. Like they weren't expecting substantial resistance. They simply started driving down the roads. They started driving down the small detachments. And I'm sure those illusions were shattered when they ran into the first Ukrainian checkpoint or ambush to find out that they were actually in a very real war. And early on, most Russian military power sat on the sidelines. For example, in the first week, we had questions about kind of the missing case of the Russian Air Force. The war started with several hours of cruise missile strikes and ballistic missile strikes. The Russian Air Force basically limited itself to small cases of close air support, meaning there was no major air campaign. There are hundreds of Russian aircraft sitting around Ukrainian air bases, hundreds of Russian combat helicopters, but in the early days, they were largely unused. And it's clear that in Moscow, they believed that they actually could succeed in this operation early on without much of a fight, without having to employ this combat power. I have two hypotheses to why, at least a theory as to why they thought they could get away with it. First, they're trying to keep the war secret from the public. They called it a special operation at Donbass for a reason. In the initial week, they were not admitting that this was actually a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. They were trying to keep it secret, in some ways not dissimilar from the way they were keeping the fighting in 2014 and 2015 secret. They let on that there was some fighting, but they were not trying to characterize the true nature of what they were attempting to do. And if they had used military power and air power on a large scale early on, those images would have been pretty difficult to control. And of course, they quickly shut down what was left of independent media, and they told everybody else that they couldn't even call it a war. Literally, they had to call it a special operation. And the second part is, I think they hope to avoid some of the worst sanctions from the West. And I think they figured they could avoid them if they conducted a quick operation that appeared relatively bloodless, and somehow they sold themselves intellectually on the fact that this was possible. I think a lot of that had to do with sort of the echo chamber of assumptions inside Moscow itself, inside the political leadership. Okay, so they end up with the worst of all worlds. The initial operation was a failure, and it was doomed to be a failure because its assumptions had little relationship to reality, right? Second, they got the worst of all the sanctions, and even far more than they expected in the initial days. They did not reach initial operational success. They got a pretty bad bloody nose early on and took some substantial casualties in the early part of the war. And they completely seeded the information domain by trying to keep it secret. So Ukraine, in fact, is winning across the board in terms of shaping the narrative, and so are Western countries to support Ukraine. And only recently have they tried to mobilize the Russian public now in support of the war, realizing that they're in a protracted conflict.
And right now, Timofey Milovanov, advisor to the chief of the president's office and president of Kyiv School Economics, joins our program. Hello, Timofey, can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Glad to see you, and I hope that I don't know how to explain it, how to just to say about this situation, horrible, will end as soon as possible. You will visit our studio, and we will just make a good program about the situation as we went. So my question is, Putin wanted to get Kiev in 2 hours, as some experts said. Now it is some kind of failure for Kremlin. What do you think? Lots of fakes about, I don't know, experiment on humans, bear labs in Ukraine. What else, I don't know, will be? Is it failure of Kremlin or not yet?
So on many accounts, it is a failure. And I think fundamentally, it is a failure to make this decision to invade Ukraine. because that starts some political processes and some fundamental global political processes, some security processes, humanitarian processes, which will ensure that Putin falls. And maybe he will even be prosecuted or killed. So in that sense, it's a big mistake. And I think there have also been miscalculations exactly of the type that you have been discussing, where people were hoping that, you just simply a couple of hours or a couple of days and we're done. But we are in, it is my feeling, unfortunately, that we're in for quite some time here, and it's going to be brutal and it's going to prolong for a while. And all this messaging that they are doing, kind of about chemical weapons and about all kinds of other issues could potentially be used to set up a scene or background for further brutality from their side. So this is their tactics, and they have proven to do it again and again. And so we have to take it seriously. And what the government has been doing, for example, the Ministry of Health has requested the World Health Organization to demonstrate and prove to Russia that everything about chemical labs or chemical weapons or anything is just fake. And so they should prove to everyone, to certify that we don't have anything. So we have to take it seriously, and we have to combat and fight their fakes all the time, because it's as much as information war as much as kinetic war.
What can you say about Russian economy now? Situation today, situation in a week, how will Russia survive?
Okay, so we expect that the drop of GDP will be higher, will be much more significant than 7 to 9% that some of the international banks have announced. We think it will be at least 20%. And if SWIFT is disconnected fully, not partially, it's going to be additional 2%. If there's ban on oil and gas, that will be additional. At the same time, the economy will get the highest hit around 3 to 6 months from now. And after that, they will be stagnating. And much will depend on the situation which will be happening then. So what it means for people in Russia, it means that they will be losing jobs and they will be losing salaries. And there will be pressure, political domestic pressure, which will make it much more difficult for Russia to continue to operate the way they operate now. At the same time, we should be fully aware that sanctions alone will not force Putin will not be as effective as the combination of everything, of every other measure. So we have to be not in denial and work on all directions.
There are enough sanctions?
Well, there are additional sanctions being added all the time. I think a lot of work needs to be done to make sure that they are not using some loopholes, and these sanctions are implemented actually quickly and enforced. What I mean is that we all know that passing a law is one thing, actually implementing and getting this law working is a different one. So we need to make sure that that's happening. I'm pretty sure that countries like the United Kingdom, the US, the EU will be implementing, but some other countries, we need to make sure that there are no loopholes.
The Ukrainian economy right now, because we have lots of help from other countries, but in general, how can you describe it?
Okay, so Ukrainian economy is in the process of transforming from a market economy, open trading economy, to a war economy. So it will take some time for the companies to reorient themselves, but I think everyone should be working on making sure that the jobs are prevented, people getting paid, and every businessman, every member of management, every businessman, every member of management work on ensuring that they produce the products and services which are needed in the war economy. This has been done in areas, let's say in the east of Ukraine, during 2014, so we know how to do it, and the government and people and businesses are doing it right now, so I expect that it will be relatively smooth.
We believe that it will soon finish. And one more information, 57% of Ukrainians believe that country will win the war with Russia in the coming weeks. We hope so. Thank you that you joined our program. It was Timofey Milovanov, advisor to the chief of the President's office and president of Kyiv School of Economics. And now we're showing real picture, real facts from all over Ukraine, and we show how life is going on in different cities right now. Let's watch what's going on in Ivano-Frankivsk.
Ivano-Frankivsk, like other cities in western Ukraine, receives temporary migrants from all over the country, including from the east and from Kiev. There are the most evacuation trains from the capital here. According to preliminary estimates, about 100,000 people have already arrived in Ivano-Frankivsk. We live in Lisovy district in Kiev, where you can hear everything. In one moment we decided to leave. Did you even take your cat? What's his name? Yes, Melissa. Even without caring nothing, the animal is afraid of everything. We hate Russian President Putin for this situation. And here is the train station. The temporary settlers are met by volunteers with warm blankets, hot food, dumplings, coffee, tea. These are not only local residents who bring everything so that people who are left without everything can at least provide a normal life. These are also our international partners. Volunteers operate with the support of Germany, Austria, Sweden.
We try to help those people who came from the east of Ukraine and traveled for a long time. Therefore, not only we help, but many organizations also. There are a lot of ordinary people who bring food products for children.
The other Ukrainian city, Lviv, also let's watch what is going on there and how people join around this problem and how they try to solve it, try to help our warriors to win.
We're here on the stage where the performances took place. I had a fresh performance of Cassandra. We plan to have a performance here on March 10th. Instead of props for the performance, the stage is full of boxes of food and essentials. Actress Alexandra was one of the first who helped her colleagues. She has a birthday today. However, she decided to help the armed forces of Ukraine. On the first day of the opening of our volunteer center, people brought a lot of things. The next night, the whole stage was full of help from Poland. For the first camouflage net, the actors used their props for the performance, a fishing net.
We had a play, Jesus, the Son of the God. There the Apostle Peter walked with a fishing net, and this net was taken for a camouflage net.
In the place where scenery for performances was painted, volunteers make the foundation for camouflage nets, as now there is a shortage to buy. Only 3 craftsmen in Lviv are able to weave nets of thread, and one of them is Volodymyr, who agreed to help the actors.
For 49 years it is my business. Once I was taught in hospital in making nets.
Ukrainian actor Viktor Zhdanov, known for the Ukrainian language TV series Catch Kaidash and many other films, joined his Lviv colleagues. The actor left Kyiv to take his child to a safe place. He stopped in Lviv and now is helping in the theater.
Since I stopped here, I help in any way I can, because every Ukrainian should do it. This is our state. We must protect it.
Except volunteer work, the actors did not forget about the refugee children. Many centers were organized for them here so that the children would be distracted and forget about the horrors of the war that they had to endure. Thanks to art therapy, the brain calms down, children draw fears. Don't forget about origami. They all build beauty. Singing and dancing, everything is needed for these children. The actors hope that they will soon return to their usual work, but for now they are ready to work for the sake of Ukraine, to the end, to victory. Julia Bil, Vadim Dmitriev, Lviv region, specially for the information marathon of DOM and UATV TV channels.
Everyone tries to do everything he can and everything what is possible, because the data, information and numbers are really, I don't know, they're scary. It's really some kind of terror. And for example, in Lutsk, because of Russian strikes, 4 people were killed and 6 were wounded. And that's why it's really important to join all over the world. It's not, I'll repeat many times again, because it's war, Russian war, not only against Ukraine, it's against Europe also. For example, in Poland, in Gdansk, artists joined and made some kind of art on the wall. You can see this video, they compare Stalin, Hitler, and Putin. And it must be a really big lesson for Russian people and for the whole world that such a person as Putin can come in any peaceful country, not only Ukraine, come to any peaceful country and start killing just civil people. But I will remind you the words of our president, Volodymyr Zelensky. He said, we have been fighting for our freedom for the 16th day already. This is 4 times longer than the enemy planned for his invasion. Believe in this, remember this, and believe we all believe that this will finish as soon as possible, and there will be peace in Ukraine, peace in Europe, and peace in the whole world. It was UA in English. Anna Nichenko. See you tomorrow.